All right.
As long as we have all the board members, we're good.
We do.
And the clerk. Nothing happens without the clerk. Right, Tracy?
Yes.
Rule number 1. And the clerk. Okay, I'd like to welcome you all to the March 10th regular meeting of the Cicero Town Board. For those of you who are in the room, please note the exits. So in case the unlikely event happens that we need to vacate the room, you know the proper door. First of all, I'd like to announce who's here in the room this evening. Myself, Judy Boyke, Tracy Kosman, Gretchen Welter, and Wayne Freeman. And virtually, we have Mike Bacallo, Jonathan Karp, Nancy White, Steve Procopio, Steve Ortuno, Neil Germain, pinch hitting with us. Thank you, Counselor, for being here. Chris Woznicka, Kate Fiorillo, Mike Merzio, Teresa Roth, Mike Bragman, Robert Horner, and Tim Coyer. And if there are other folks that, and Elka Johan, thank you. How could I forget you? Thank you. If there are other folks that join later, we'll be sure to introduce them. The clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Boyke. Here. Counselor Carr.
Here.
Counselor White. Here. Oh. Counselor Bacallo.
Here.
And Supervisor Meyer.
Here. Okay, first item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America.
to the republic
Republic
for which it stands,
stands,
one nation, under God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty
liberty,
and
and
justice for all.
all.
Please remain standing for a moment to recognize our troops in harm's way around the world. And let us also recognize the healthcare workers working in local homes, assisted living centers, and long-term care facilities who are taking care of our elderly during these terrible COVID times. Too often, taking care of the elderly living in isolation, being with them in their final hours and days so that they do not die alone. Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda, Nancy, approval of the abstracts.
Approval of abstracts. Resolved, the Cicero Town Board approves abstract numbers 8 dated 2/14/21 and 9 dated 3/3/21.
Second, Counselor Bacallo.
Discussion on number 2. Clerk will call the roll.
Boyke.
Yes.
Counselor Carr.
Yes.
Counselor White.
Yes.
Bacallo.
Aye.
Supervisor Meyer.
Yes, item is adopted. Thank you. Before we get into item number 3, just about a year ago today, we started, after the governor had the state of emergency, to start having meetings in this electronic format. If you remember, at that time, we were learning how to do those meetings, and the Cicero Town Board was the one, as far as local government in the town of Cicero, to start this experiment. After we did a couple of sessions and worked out some of the bugs, and the planning board and the ZBA started doing this. So what we're going to do now is reverse that order, in that now the planning board is going to start having opportunity during public hearings to have a public input component for their meetings. So we're going to have them try a couple of meetings and get the bugs out, and assuming it works successfully, then we'll change the format here to change the procedure as far as having input during the public hearings. So that being said, the next item on the agenda is continuation of the public hearing. The clerk will note the time. On the Horner Farm application, there will be no action on this item this evening. It's still being considered by the planning board. So that being said, I believe Mr. Horner is with us. Mr. Horner, did you have a couple of updates or new information for us?
I did. Thank you very much. And I finally got back to you just in time. I had some computer glitches and found the meeting and got back. As you stated, I'm Robert Horner. I'm the executor for the estate of Carl Matthew Horner. as well as one of the three heirs of the estate. For any of you who were here for the last meeting, which most of you were, and if you have an interest, it has cooled off. I do have long pants on instead of shorts. And my little French bulldog has been sequestered in the kitchen, so he won't be making any cameo appearances tonight. So sorry about that. Speaking for the family, we have a very long history in the town of Cicero, and really feel that it is important we maintain our grandparents' and parents' concerns for the area and for the property. Our grandparents bought it and had a very difficult time going through the Depression to maintain ownership, but they struggled and did get through it and raised a family. And then my father also had a family there, and we, all three of us, were brought up on that property and have very fond memories of it. And so it's very difficult for us to come to the decision that none of us are in a position for financial or personal reasons to maintain ownership of the farm. And I can't overstress to the board and especially to the concerned neighbors in the community that regardless of the outcome of the zoning change request, the farm will have to maintain new ownership. We just are not able to keep it. And we are trying very, very diligently to maintain a nice neighborhood, be nice neighbors, do our due diligence, and try to do something that will blend in and be the least intrusive for both the town and the neighbors, because we've been there longer than most of them, and we will maintain there, as my brother and his family still lives on the adjoining property, and his daughter, my niece, also owns property and lives adjacent to that. So we're trying to do what is, in our opinion, the best, the most cosmetically appealing for the community and for the remaining family in the area. And for the neighbors who I know are quite concerned that they're going to lose some access to nice areas to walk and exercise and take their dogs and play. Again, one of the decisions we came to was that by working with the Bragman Group and having them make a nice development, from what I understand, the homes are going to be in the $300,000 plus area. So they're going to be nice homes. And for those who want to come and walk or bike or take their dogs out, instead of having go through a muddy, slippery, wet clay field, you're not going to be able to walk on paved streets with sidewalks and have, in my opinion, a much nicer and a much safer area to walk and enjoy. And it really does blend, in our opinion, the best with the neighborhood. When I grew up there, it was all farmlands around us. Now there's housing developments all around us. And I just think, even though a lot of people feel another housing development would impact traffic and they have a lot of concerns about that, I really feel it is the most cosmetically appealing for the area. And so I ask that you give this zoning request serious consideration, because one more time, I'm going to stress, even if the zoning request is not approved, there are things that could be done on that property and will be done on that property because we just are not in a position to maintain ownership and maintain the status quo. Open land is nice. I enjoyed it. A lot of the neighbors enjoy it, but it's just not conceivable or possible to continue with that. So we're trying, even though a lot of people may not agree with us, We are trying to do what we honestly feel as a family is in the best interest for the town, for the community. And with that, I will close by saying one more time, regardless of the decision of the town on the zoning request change, the property will change hands. We know what Mr. Bragman will do with it. I'm not sure what might happen if it goes into some alternative, and we really do think this is best, and we ask you to give it serious consideration. And with that, I'll close and say thank you very much for your time and your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Horner. Mr. Bragman?
Thank you.
Did you have something?
Hi, everybody, and Mr. Supervisor and members of the town board. Let me first say thank you to you for leaving the hearing open. It allows multiple meetings, freer exchange of information, and that helps us too, because we can be proactive in gathering that information and helping to answer the questions. So thank you for that. I'd like to provide, if I could, the most current report that we have in regard to the Horner Farmstead application. And in so doing, I would like to see if I can't make it more clear as to why we think that this is the best use of the property in question. First, if we could take a look at the map that's up there.
Will we be able to share our screen?
There you go, Tim. You should be good.
Sorry, guys. No, it's fine. If you take a look at this aerial view, the Horner property, of course, is the middle acreage. To the west, used to be farmlands, but now is Eldon Meadow, which is an R12 community. Joseph's Landing to the south used to be farmland around it, and it is now an R12 community. Up to Wallington. This is a R10 community. And even on Lakeshore Road, you'll see that those are residential dwellings up there. So, it only makes sense to us. I'm not saying that we know best, but if you look at the sketch map, you'll see that it's surrounded on 3.5 sides, if you count Lakeshore Road as a half side. And even in planning jargon, this would be referred to as an infill project. An infill project is one that is surrounded on 3 sides, and therefore, if you look at the Horner property, it would be the same as what's there now. It would be complementary to what's there now, and we would hope that would be a factor as we make our decision. The current agricultural district allows for single-family homes, 1-acre home sites. And there are 17 other uses that could take place. The R12 application that we are asking for allows for 12,000 square foot home sites, single-family homes, and there would only be 7 alternatives. It does, however, restrict closed storage and utilities, and we think that's important. I think that at least here, we all want to see something that is similar. In 1987, I think was the date that it started, Wallington Meadow began, and there was a series of meetings in regard to the zone change. And the 3 items that were talked about then pertain to drainage, density, and traffic. There were several meetings, and after a series of meetings, it was approved, but there was an interest in those 3 issues. During the present process for the Horner Homestead application, there would be almost the same issues. And when the town board and the planning board have gone through this process or are going through this process, they would see that there are the issues as follows. The wetlands. If we could take a look at the wetlands map. The wetlands, Tim, if you could point that out. 1, 2, and the 3rd is by Lakeshore Road. Now, I understand, as you do, that this is our design. It hasn't gone through the planning board process. But, you know, this design by us was done on purpose because we want to impact the least amount of wetlands. And by laying out this design where we only cross the wetlands on the south once, and then we don't cross it all up on the north side, we impact 1/10 of an acre out of 5.5 acres. And we think that's important to talk about. Whether we impact any acreage at all, even less or more, there still could, at the very least, we would need to have a nationwide permit issued by the Army Corps. And therefore would be subject to additional review. And I'm going to say to you a couple of times tonight, and then it would be subject to the appropriate review and approval of the planning board. So we're trying to impact the wetlands in the least way possible, but there would be that additional review process on top of that. Second would be drainage. We would create stormwater management areas on the property to mitigate drainage that would come from this project. The drainage report and stormwater mitigation would then be subject to further review by the planning board. Sanitary sewer capacity. We have been in contact with the county. They have responded and they have indicated to us that there is enough capacity for this project. But we also know that any project, as far as sanitary sewers are concerned, would then have to comply with whatever town regulations are in place. Public water. There's existing water along Lakeshore Road. There's existing water at the 2 stub streets in Eldon Meadow. And we would be required to comply with all the questions that come from the town, the county, Aqua, and everybody else. And we would be responsible for any improvements that would have to be made. In addition to that, the planning board is going to review the process. Fifth is traffic. Gordon Stansberry is here this evening. He's made a presentation to both the planning board and the town board, but we know that traffic is a significant area that needs questions answered, and that's fine with us. I've lived in the neighborhood, I hate to tell you, for 75 years. My wife and I are up and down Thompson Road, across Route 31, across all the cross streets, up on Lakeshore Road, and wherever. We want things improved just as much as they can be improved in regard to traffic. And having said that, I think that Gordon Stansberry from GTS Engineering, probably I'd have the most confidence in him answering questions that relate to traffic. But I would say this, that Gordon has been very careful to try to craft the report in such a way that he answers all the questions. As far as the number of automobiles surveyed, he took into consideration conservatively, meaning more, the coronavirus impact, how many school buses are running, what the season was. And if you have questions in regard to what would be the impact from this project onto what is the important intersection for us at Lakeshore Road and Route 31, he can tell you about the automobile number impact. He can tell you how long it takes when each car turns, and I hope that you will not be shy about asking those questions. I think it should also be noted that, as Supervisor Meyer reported at a recent meeting, that the state DOT has plans in place, or plans that they're developing, that would provide improvement in 2022 and 2023 from the Cicero North Syracuse High School east to South Bay Road, with both intersections at South Bay and at Thompson Road subject to improvement. And I also know, and thank you, Mr. Supervisor, and other members here who have been involved. I know that you're working hard to make sure that that becomes a reality, but I think it's something that we should all be aware of, work very hard to accomplish, and it probably will impact Route 31 in such a way that we'll be happy that it was done. Now, it should be noted that in the development of Eldon Meadows, when that was developed, it was developed in a way that anticipated this kind of growth. There are 2 stub streets. There are utilities available. When SACPA, Syracuse Onondaga County Planning Agency, issued their report recently, they gave a referral indicating that there would be no intercommunity, no countywide impact. And in that regard, they did issue a further addendum that said, here are the issues that we would like to see reviewed if it's approved by the planning board. And all of those issues would be included in everything that we have just talked about. So I guess I want to be a little bold here and say, we have developed several communities in the town of Cicero and throughout northern Onondaga County. You're probably familiar with a lot of them, of course, in Cicero. Abbey Shire, the Sanctuary, 3 Parade of Homes projects, the crossings, the pastures, at the lake. And you know what? This is where I'm being bold. We are very proud of the work that we have done in this community. And, again, not to offend you, because I know that you're out and about more than me and you know more about this than I do. But if you're not familiar with those projects, please take a look at them. Our signature has always been the protection of any environmentally unique land, and to preserve the historic integrity of the area that the project is located and the community around us. The Horner family and the Bragman companies, we both care greatly about this property. I said, I've been here for 75 years, walked to the little 1-room schoolhouse up the road and carried the water across the street. This is our neighborhood and always will be. My wife says, Mike, you never got very far in this life, and I'm proud of that fact. But having said that, we have agreed that there will be a plan included if the approvals are gained, whereby the historical significance in particular will be something like we have never done before. We will honor the Horner family. We will honor the community around this project. And we think we have the ability, working with some people who've already done some work, people who you are familiar with, whereby we could do some work that would really talk about the history beyond the Horner family property, beyond the community, and further in all over Cicero. So we would be proud to do that. The only other thing that I want to say is in regard to our home sites. In all of our projects, and in the Horner project also. We got that map that we can show Tim. This is the design that we have laid out. Again, I say emphatically, hasn't been reviewed by the planning board and could be subject to change. But if it's whatever the zone change classification is, we always do a significant number of lots that are larger than what we're required to do. In so doing, we gain space for the historic markers and and saving the wetlands and doing all kinds of things. This project, I think, has probably 25% of the lots are much larger. Some are over an acre. So having said all of that, I guess I would thank you for your attention. I'm sorry I took so long. And if I could just point out that I'll be available for questions. Tim Coyer is here tonight representing Iannuzzi and Romans. Gordon Stansberry is here in regard to the traffic questions. And the 2 Horner brothers are here. Bob, who's the executor of the estate. Tom, who his family and his daughter's family live at the Horner farmstead. They always have. They tell me that they think they'll be there for a long time, and they certainly have an interest. So feel free to ask any questions. We'll do the best we can to answer them. And we appreciate your attention. Thank you very much.
Okay, I have a few emails were sent in. I'm going to read those, get them into the record, then if any of the board members have any questions. First one is from a Susan Raspada, no address. It has been brought to my attention and the attention of my neighbors that you intend to bring more developments to this property, and without any consideration to the residents here, especially us on Lake Shore Road. I have lived on the corner of Lakeshore and Tartan for only 7 years now and have seen a 50% increase in traffic. You've had meetings regarding this without public input, and even when you do let us speak, you still do what you want. I have not heard anyone who is to be impacted by this support it. The only ones supporting it are the ones profiting off it. How can you claim there will be no impact? Lakeshore is a residential street with speed limit no one follows and is barely patrolled. There is far too much traffic now, and you want to add another 200 or more cars. And no, they don't go down 31 to Button, which they don't want the traffic either, or South Bay, et cetera. They come down Lakeshore or cut down Porchwood. It is also our understanding that Williams Farm has been in the process of purchasing project of the property, and Horner's lawyers stopped communicating, ghosting them. Bottom line is this should remain open farmland or some form of land not requiring a traffic increase or massive building effective wildlife. And by the way, Route 31 and 31 Junction, along with the entrance and exit of 81, are a nightmare now. I think it's time to start listening to the residents of this town regarding to the overdevelopment and our outrageous taxes. Next item, please add me to the list of residents who are opposed to zone change to add a new development on Lakeshore Road. Traffic issues, drainage issues, environmental issues, and overcrowding are all issues that the residents of Cicero are tired of dealing with and not seeing them addressed. Have you driven down Route 31 around noontime? Any day of the week, it's ridiculous. Having lived here 18 years and have only seen things get worse. Please consider me a resounding no to the development. Linda Fisher, Bay Colony. Next one is Allison DeVecchio, no address. I'm writing regarding the zone change and housing development being proposed off of Lakeshore Road. I've lived in Cicero for 34 years and continue to be disappointed by the way the town only listens to people with big wallets. Bergman does not need more money. Every morsel of open land does not need to be built upon. The school district is bursting at the seams with overcrowding and our roads are jammed with traffic. How on earth is anyone thinking that adding 150 more homes to this area is a good idea? The idea of this unnecessary development, which is only good for the greedy who do not need more money, is causing many to leave the area. Who wants to live in wall-to-wall traffic and have their children in overcrowded classrooms? It is repulsive that we are being bullied by big wallets, but I implore you to listen to the residents of this town and stand your ground. We do not need another development. Please listen to the residents of Cicero and protect this land for the benefit of all of us. Next one, Diane Cooley, Hayfield Lane. The members of the Cicero Town Board, as a Cicero resident living off of Lakeshore Road, I beseech you to reject the zoning change proposed to accommodate the development of yet another neighborhood on Lakeshore Road. Without the Cicero community members being able to speak at the meetings, it is important that you understand the Horner family and Michael Bragman do not speak for the majority. Without opening up as an inclusive forum, you are doing a disservice to the process. It's also beyond belief that there are claims that there will be no adverse effects to traffic. In my opinion, as a 30-year resident, the prior traffic studies that have been conducted for Cicero development are laughable, skewed to support the developer's development. They do not represent the reality of the congestion in this town and the additional strain to the influx of cars will cause. With the existing extensive development and traffic issues, many of us are already forced to alter our routes to travel Mud Mill Road to bypass Lakeshore and South Bay to bypass Route 11. Again, I implore you to reject the proposal. I'm not against progress, development, or family making a profit off the sale of the land. I'm against that development when it harms the many to profit the few. Thank you for your time and consideration. Next one, no address from Chris B. I believe other residents have voiced valid concerns in opposition to the proposed Horner farmstead. The only arguments I've heard in support of the development are from the owners and those that have a financial interest in this development. The applicants have painted a picture of a housing development that will somehow honor the history of the family and the parcel. This thinly veiled attempt to get emotional ruling from the board, I think we can all agree that 100 to 110 homes on a piece of farmland in no way, shape, or form honors the history of this land. Additionally, the applicant has threatened that if the development is not approved, a solar farm will be developed instead. Note that there's a current moratorium on these types of projects. Lastly, the applicants have voiced issues with trespassers and encroachment. There are other ways to deal with those issues, and this is not a valid reason for housing development. I urge the board to look past these emotional tactics by the applicants and listen to the concerns of the residents with regard to infrastructure, traffic, overdevelopment, lack of green space, and drainage issues. Thank you. Lastly, let's see. From Caitlin Albright, no address. Don Kelly of Mud Mill Road asked me to email the board on his behalf to share his comments about the proposed zoning change on Lakeshore Road. Here's his message. Cicero is the worst town for any kind of new development. Their infrastructure is always the cart before the horse. Some days it is possible to get anywhere in this town. I believe we need a moratorium on building anything new. Our taxes keep going up and our roads are getting more congested. Maybe we need to look at our planners. Do they have the right training? Are they working for the best interest of the people, or are they working for the developers and builders? This has to stop. We need more accountability. Okay, that's the end of those items. Do the board members have any questions from the folks who presented this evening?
I have a question.
Okay, Nancy White.
Probably Mr. Stansbury would be the best for this. With the apartment complex that's going in off of Lakeshore Road also, has the traffic study that you've done for the Horner Farmstead been melded with that traffic study to see what the total impact would be?
For which apartments?
There's a marina off of
Yes,
Lakeshore Road.
I completed the impact study for the Cicero Marina up near Mud Mill in 2018. That is included in the background numbers of this study.
Thank you.
Any further questions from the board members? Okay, so again, this has not been, we do not have a recommendation or action from the planning board, so we will continue the public hearing after we have input. So we'll reschedule this item. Okay, thank you for all the presenters. Next item on the agenda, number 4, memorializing the State of New York Department of Transportation to study State Route 31 in town in Cicero and Clay. This is the item that I brought to the attention of the board at the last meeting after a few of us had some conversations with the state DOT. Whereas Route 31 in Cicero and Clay is a State of New York highway, and whereas the town of Cicero has previously notified the State of New York DOT about its concerns about traffic and safety concerns on Route 31, and whereas Onondaga County is looking into expanding the White Pines industrial property in the town of Clay along Route 31, that would have a major impact on traffic along Route 31 in the town of Cicero. And whereas the New York DOT has done traffic studies along Route 31 that may now be obsolete, now therefore be resolved, the town of Cicero memorializes the New York State Department of Transportation to start appropriate traffic studies along Route 31 in Cicero and Clay in anticipation of the development of the White Pine site in the town of Clay. And be it further resolved, the Cicero town clerk shall send a copy of this resolution to the local New York State Department office.
Second, Counselor Bicallo.
Second, Mr. Bacallo. Discussion on number 4. If the board remembers, we've done a few requests to the town, to the state DOT concerning signs and proper posting on 31. We did that about a year ago. And we've also brought it to their attention on Route 11. We had a very positive, constructive conversation with some DOT folks a couple weeks ago. And so we wanted to continue that communication, and hopefully they'll take our concerns and interests to heart. So any further discussion on number 4?
I commend
Clerk will call the
you,
roll.
as supervisor, and the board for doing this.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that, sir? I didn't hear
Oh,
you.
so, Mr. Supervisor, I just want to say that I commend you and the board for continuing with the addressing the traffic issues here in the town of Cicero.
Thank you. If there's no further discussion, the clerk will call the roll on number 4.
Counselor Boyke,
Yes.
Counselor Carp,
Yes.
Counselor White,
Yes.
Counselor Bacallo,
Aye.
Supervisor Meyer.
Yes, item is adopted. Thank you. Number 5, the board approves a $100 donation from Town of Cicero resident Elaine Skibitsky for the Cicero Police Department. Whereas on February 12, 2021, Elaine Skibitsky of Cicero wanted to show her support of the Cicero Police Department by making a $100 donation for any needed supplies or equipment for the police department. Now therefore be resolved, the town board approves the donation of $100 for the police department by Elaine Skibitsky in Town of Cicero budget code B 3120.56.
Second.
Ms. Boyke, discussion on number 5? Clerk will call the roll.
Counselor Boyke,
Yes.
Counselor Carp,
Yes.
Counselor White,
Yes.
Counselor Bacallo,
Aye.
Supervisor Meyer.
Yes, item is adopted. Number 6, the board approves a $250 donation from John Lyons and the Lanco Companies Incorporated for the Cicero Police Department. Whereas on February 23rd, 2021, John Lyons from the Lanco Companies Incorporated made a $250 donation to the Cicero Police Department in appreciation of the department's service. Now therefore be resolved that the town board approves the donation of a $250 for the police department by John Lyons in the Lanco Companies, budget code B 3120.56.
Second.
Second.
Ms. White, the second. Discussion on number 6. Clerk will call the roll.
Counselor Boyke,
Yes.
Counselor Carp,
Yes.
Counselor White,
Yes.
Counselor Bacallo,
Aye.
Supervisor Meyer.
Aye. Item is adopted. Thank you. Number 7, authorized to bid and approve bid opening date for the expansion and improvement of the Skyway Park parking through the SAM grant, whereas the town of Cicero has received a SAM grant, which is a state and municipal facilities program grant, in the amount of $125,000 and budgeted $80,000 in the town budget to expand and improve parking at Skyway Park. And whereas the town needs to request formal bids for the project pursuant to applicable provisions of the general municipal law and town procurement policy. Now therefore be it resolved that the Cicero Town Board approves the bid and the bid specifications prepared by RZ Engineering, and that they are authorized to go out to bid. The due date for bid submittal shall be April 8th, 2021 at 10 a.m.
Second, Counselor Bacallo.
Okay, Ms. Roth, did you want to add anything to this? Lisa?
No, that's everything, unless you have any
Okay.
questions.
Okay. Discussion on number 7. Clerk will call the roll.
Counselor Boyke,
Yes.
Counselor Carp,
Yes.
Counselor White,
Yes.
Counselor Bacallo,
Aye.
Supervisor Meyer.
Yes, item is adopted. Thank you. Number 8, approve the purchase of a 2021 Chrysler Voyager for the Parks and Recreation Department, and approve trade-in of 2008 Chrysler Town and Country, whereas the existing 2008 Chrysler minivan has substantial rust to its undercarriage and is nearing end of its use by the Parks and Recreation Department. And whereas the Parks and Recreation Department has a need for a safe operating vehicle, and whereas the Parks and Recreation Department conducted a mini bid via the New York State Vehicle Marketplace, and whereas there was only one bidder who met all bid specs, was within budget, and was willing to offer a fair market value for the existing Parks Department minivan. Now therefore be resolved, the town board approves the trade-in of a 2008 Chrysler Town and Country van valued at $2,195 to Joe Sikoris Chrysler Complex, and be it further resolved, the town board approves the purchase of a new 2021 Chrysler Voyager from Joe Sikoris Chrysler Complex and applies the trade-in so that the purchase amount is $22,401.66, budget code A71102.
Second.
Second, Ms. Boyke. Ms. Roth, do you have any items to add on this? Teresa? Did you want to add anything, Teresa?
No, I'm sorry. Did you have a question?
No, I just had, did you want to add anything to this?
No, we have been in contact with the company that's supposedly going to provide the vehicle if you approve it, and we would probably get it in about 2.5 weeks.
Okay. Questions, discussion on number 8? Clerk will call the roll.
Counselor Boyke,
Yes.
Counselor Carp,
Yes.
Counselor White,
Yes.
Counselor Bacallo,
Aye.
Supervisor Meyer.
Yes, item is adopted. Thank you. Number 9, Cicero Town Board Cicero Board adopts police reform and reinvention plan. Whereas Governor Cuomo issued an executive order number 203 dated June 12, 2020, requiring all local governments with a police department to complete the New York State Police Reform and Reinvention Collaborative to review and certify its current police force, deployments, strategies, policies, procedures, and practices. And whereas Onondaga County, the town of Cicero, and the Cicero Police Department have completed the review following the guidelines provided by the state of New York. And whereas the town of Cicero has posted the draft reports on the town of Cicero, on the town and Cicero Police Department websites, now therefore be resolved that the town board adopts the attached plans developed by Onondaga County and the town of Cicero Police Department as part of the Police Reform and Reinvention Collaborative Plan to be submitted to the Director of the New York State Division of the Budget, and be it further resolved that the Cicero Town Board adopts the attached plan certification form and other forms that may need execution, authorizes the supervisor to execute the documents, and be it further resolved that Cicero is authorized to send these documents to the proper State of New York Department per the executive order.
Second.
Second, Mr. Carp. Yesterday, the Onondaga County Legislature approved their portion of this. And Chief, would you like to add some comments to this?
Absolutely. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone at the county level and also within the town of Cicero that assisted in this, both these plans. It was a lot of work. I can tell you this, that the Cicero Police Department, we took this as an opportunity to see where we can do better and also identify the things that we do well. And I believe that we produced a good product, a great plan for the future of the Cicero Police Department and the town of Cicero itself. So thank you for your support, and I appreciate it.
Further discussion on the item?
I'd like to thank the chief for,
I'm sorry.
yeah, I'd just like to thank the chief for all the work he put into it. I know this was a long road. This was, put on us with an executive order with a hard deadline. It was a lot of work. I'd like to thank the chief and everyone else, the Cicero Police Department, the Citizens Committee that was formed, for all the work and the input they provided.
Thank you.
Clerk will call the roll.
Counselor Boyke,
Yes.
Counselor Carp,
Yes.
Counselor White,
Yes.
Counselor Bacallo,
Aye.
Supervisor Meyer.
Yes, item is adopted. Thank you. Mike, number 10.
Town of Cicero support of LoSAP Length of Service Award Program. Whereas the town of Cicero has historically supported our volunteer ambulance and fire workers, and we have adopted and complied with service award programs enacted across the state in an effort to support, retain, and attract our volunteers. And whereas in the light of global pandemic, state of emergency, and temporary hardships, complying with normal reporting and bookkeeping practices required by voluntary service award programs in the state, and whereas in an effort to help ease the reporting compliance hardships faced by our fire and ambulance volunteers in municipalities, the state of New York recently enacted a law amending section 217 of general municipal law in relation to the determination of points of service award programs for volunteer firefighters and ambulance workers. And whereas in the new law allows municipalities to adopt the amendment and the subparagraph P in section 217, which states in subjunctive part, for purpose of determining total points earned for a calendar year in which a state of disaster emergency, as defined in section 20 of the executive law, has been declared pursuant to the executive order number 202 of 2020, as amended, to address the outbreak of novel coronavirus, COVID-19, in active volunteer firefighter service award program may provide for the crediting of up to 5 additional points per month, prorated for periods of less than 1 month for each active volunteer firefighter for each month that special emergency response rules were in place. And whereas participation in the amendment and compliance requires the home municipality to adopt a resolution adopting same. And whereas the town of Cicero adopted a resolution on August 26, 2020, supporting the LoSAP program for 2020. Now, therefore, it be resolved, the town of Cicero so specifically supports and adopts the amendment of section 217 of the general municipal law by adopting subparagraph P in its entirety. This resolution in compliance with the same is temporary in nature and shall be self-repealing upon termination of the state of emergency by executive order.
Second.
Second.
Second, Mr. Carr. Discussion on number 10. Clerk will call the roll.
Counselor Boyke,
Yes.
Counselor Carr,
Yes.
Counselor White,
Yes.
Counselor Bacallo,
As a volunteer firefighter in the town of Cicero, I will abstain.
and Supervisor Meyer.
Yes, item is adopted. Thank you. Nancy, number 11.
Okay, these next 5 items, I believe, are typical purchases that the highway department does every year, but we'll take them one at a time. Approve the 2021 Highway Paving Plan 284. Whereas the highway department would like to accept 284, agreement for the expenditure of the highway funds for 2021. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the town board approves the agreement for the expenditure of highway funds 284. See attachment.
Second, Counselor Bacallo.
Okay, discussion on number 11. Clerk will call the roll.
Counselor Boyke,
Yes.
Counselor Carr,
Yes.
Counselor White,
Yes.
Counselor Bacallo,
Aye.
Supervisor Meyer.
Yes, item is adopted. Thank you. Nancy, number 12.
Approve purchase of drainage pipe. Whereas the highway department needs to purchase drainage pipe, elbows and tees for the projected road projects. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board approves Steel Sales Supplier for Advanced Draining Systems, Inc., ADS State Contract Number PC 69053 in the amount of $15,000, budget code DB 511045.
Second.
Second, Ms. Boyke. Discussion on number 12. Clerk will call the roll.
Counselor Boyke,
Yes.
Counselor Carr,
Yes.
Counselor White,
Yes.
Counselor Bacallo,
Aye.
Supervisor Meyer.
Yes, item is adopted. Thank you. Nancy?
Approve purchase of stone and gravel. Whereas the highway department needs to purchase stone and gravel, now therefore be it resolved that the town board approves the purchase of 1,800 tons of stone and gravel from Earl Becker Construction, Inc., county contract number 0010231 in the amount of $25,000, budget code DB 511242.
Second, Counselor Bicallo. Sorry, John.
Discussion on number 13. Clerk will call the roll.
Counselor Boyke,
Yes.
Counselor Carp,
Yes.
Counselor White,
Yes.
Counselor Bacallo,
Aye.
Supervisor Meyer.
Yes, item is adopted. Thank you. Nancy, number 14.
Approve purchase of runner crush. Whereas the highway department needs to purchase runner crush. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board approves the purchase of 2,250 tons of runner crush from TH Kinsella Inc., New York State contract number PC 68061 in the amount of $25,000. Budget code DB 511042.
Second.
Second, Mrs. Boyke. Discussion on number 14. Clerk will call the roll.
Counselor Boyke,
Yes.
Counselor Carp,
Yes.
Counselor White,
Yes.
Counselor Bacallo,
Aye.
Supervisor Meyer.
Yes, item is adopted. Thank you. Nancy, number 15.
Approve rental of sweeper. Whereas the highway department is in need to rent a sweeper for 6 weeks to sweep town roads. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board approves the rental of a back truck from CNS Sweeping, county bid number 3943 in the amount of $12,500. Budget code DB 514048.
Second.
Our discussion on number 15. Clerk will call the roll.
Counselor Boyke,
Yes.
Counselor Carp,
Yes.
Counselor White,
Yes.
Counselor Bacallo,
Aye.
Supervisor Meyer.
Yes, item is adopted. Thank you. Mike, number 16.
Now, Mr. Supervisor, before I do number 16, I appreciate those being all separated out. In the past, they weren't. So I appreciate that very much. So number 16, approve an intermunicipal agreement for the providing of technology services with OCM BOCES, Onondaga, Cortland, Madison Board of Cooperative Educational Services, Regional Information Center. And Tracy, I appreciate you getting me the change in language. Whereas the Board of Cooperative Educational Services for Sole Supervisory District of Onondaga, Cortland, and Madison counties provides technology services through OCM BOCES Regional Information Center, RIC. And the town has a need for technology services. Therefore, be it resolved, the town board approves the terms of the intermunicipal agreement for the providing of technology services with OCM BOCES and authorizes the supervisor to execute the agreement with the proposed fee schedule or lower. The effective date of the agreement is May 1st, 2021, and shall continue for a term of 1 year. Budget code A168041.
Okay, I'll second this item, and as a point of information, the original agenda went out, did not have the part that said with the proposed fee schedule or lower. Thanks to the work of our computer consultant, Mr. Freeman, he was able to work out some lower fees for us. So that turned out to be a very positive thing. So discussion on number 16. Clerk will call the roll.
Counselor Boyke,
Yes.
Counselor Carp,
Yes.
Counselor White,
Yes.
Counselor Bacallo,
Aye.
Supervisor Meyer.
Yes, item is adopted. Thank you. Judy?
Uncompleted work agreement for Darlene's Brook project. Whereas the work on Darlene's Brook project is substantially complete, and whereas Slate Hill Constructors Incorporated has provided a bank check in the amount of $9,110.40 to guarantee the final cleanup and restoration. Now therefore be it resolved, the town board approves the attached uncompleted work agreement and authorizes the town supervisor to sign documents related to said agreement.
Second.
Discussion on number 17.
I would like to say that I'm glad to see that they have acknowledged the fact that there's a lot of cleanup to be done, because there is. It's quite a mess, and obviously due to the winter, it put a halt on finishing, and restoring it back would be nice because there was always nice green grass over there. Thank you.
Clerk will call the roll.
Counselor Boyke,
Yes.
Counselor Carp,
Yes.
Counselor White,
Yes.
Counselor Vaccalo,
Aye.
Supervisor Myers.
Yes. Item is adopted. Thank you. Jonathan, number 18.
Whereas the town board finds it is appropriate to add 2 additional full-time positions to the Cicero Police Department. And whereas the addition of such positions will help to alleviate overtime costs and provide additional resources in areas including but not limited to investigations, discovery, compliance, and traffic enforcement. And whereas one of the said 2 positions is to be filled immediately and the other is to be filled no earlier than August 1st, 2021. And whereas Cole Schanbacher has passed a thorough background evaluation and has been recommended for hire by the Cicero Chief of Police, now therefore be it resolved that the town board approves the hiring of Cole Schanbacher as a full-time police officer at a starting pay rate of $44,672 per year with a starting date of no earlier than April 1st, 2021. And be it further resolved that the town board approves the hiring of an additional full-time police officer, the identity and pay rate of whom is to be determined at a later date with a starting date of no earlier than August 1st, 2021.
Second,
Second.
Counselor Vaccalo.
Ms. Boyke, I think had that, Mike. Okay, discussion on number 18.
Yes, and I'm sure the chief will also want to add something. I think that one of the things that we need to be aware of is the outstanding work that our police department does, which perhaps we are, but also how it compares to other, I would say, peer agencies in the county. Because our officers do a lot more with a lot less. So if you look at other comparable towns, Manlius, very comparable in population, very comparable in square miles. They have exact 2.5 times as many full-time officers as we do, and a budget well over twice as much. Camillus, a little bit less population. Oh, and I should also say Manlius handles about the same number of calls as our department does. Camillus handles fewer calls, but has more officers and a larger budget. DeWitt, slightly lower population, slightly lower in terms of area, handles a little more calls, well over 2 times the budget. So if you're going to have a police department, it needs to be adequately staffed. Our officers are, again, doing more with less. When you look at Manlius, on any given day, on the average day, they have 4 patrol officers, plus 1 to 2 patrol sergeants on duty, plus some investigators on duty. Camillus, a patrol sergeant, 4 patrol officers, plus detectives. DeWitt, 1 to 2 patrol sergeants, 5 patrol officers, plus detectives. Cicero, 2 patrol officers, sometimes a patrol sergeant. Right now, no full-time investigators, no part-time investigators. So we're handling roughly the same number of calls as DeWitt and Manlius with half or less than half of the officers on the road at any given time. That creates obviously issues for public safety, and it creates issues for officer safety. One of the things that the chief plans on doing is adding a full-time traffic car for traffic enforcement. That's not alleviating traffic jams, although perhaps traffic enforcement will help with that. It also addresses issues like we get, he tells me they get lots of complaints about people blowing stop signs in neighborhoods, speeding in neighborhoods, speeding in places like Codnoy. Also, that will be able to address quality of life issues. And there's other considerations for this we'll get into at a later date. The bottom line is our officers, it's known as a very busy department. They do a fantastic job. The other thing is that a lot of people aren't aware of it. I'm not going to get into the minutia, but we have 2 officers currently out on something called General Municipal Law 207C. Taking a long time to get into it, but basically we have 2 officers that were injured on duty who are holding 2 roster slots, but they're not acting as police officers because of their injuries. And as a result, we also pay a lot of overtime covering their shifts. This will help to alleviate that. So this is a budgeted item. We do not anticipate, and the chief has been told, the town board will not appropriate any additional money beyond what he budgeted in 2021 to pay for this. So I believe it has broad community support. I'm told there's a petition supporting it with over 1,700 signatures. From discussions on the board, I think it has broad support on the board. And I think this is going to take our excellent police department and make it even better. And with that, I'll defer to the chief for further comments.
Thank you,
Further
sir.
discussion? Chief?
Yep, thank you. As part of our reform and reinventive process, we did a citizen survey. And that survey revealed, like Councilman Carp mentioned, quality of life issues, specifically traffic, wanting more patrols in the neighborhoods. And I welcome everyone to look at the plan that we submitted for reform and also go to our website, ciceropd.us, and look at my 2020 annual report and look at all the work that the men and women of the Cicero Police Department do. We handled approximately 18,000 calls last year, and usually we're running 2 cars in a town that's also almost 50 square miles. So we do a lot with less, like Councilman Carb said. We identified this late last year, and with that said, we began the process of hiring Cole. He wasn't certified. We put him through phase 2 of the police academy. We hired him as a recruit police officer to make sure he was going to be a good fit for the town of Cicero. He's made it through the entire field training program, and he's actually out on his own right now as a part-time police officer. So it'll be an easy transition. He will slide from part-time into full-time. He gets along well with the other officers, and he's a town of Cicero resident and a CNS graduate, and he's just a well-rounded, good fit for the police department, and he'll be a good fit for the community. As far as the traffic patrol, yes, there's going to be a few moving parts as we hire him and we shift some people around. But the residents in Cicero, and we heard it earlier, traffic is probably one of the #1 complaints that we receive. And we will be addressing that through enforcement and education. And I appreciate everybody's support. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask me.
Thank you, Chief. I'm good.
Further comments? Clerk will call the roll.
Counselor Boyke,
Yes.
Counselor Carp,
Yes.
Counselor White,
Yes.
Counselor Bacallo,
Yes.
Supervisor Meyer.
No, item is adopted. Thank you. Next item, Jonathan, number 19.
Whereas the assessor's office has an opening and a need to fill the information aide position, now therefore be it resolved. The town board approves the hiring of April Greco effective March 11th, 2021. That is supposed to be 2021, is it not?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Please amend I amend it to read that at a pay rate of $18 per hour, contingent on passing a drug test and physical.
Second? I'll second it. Discussion on number 19.
Karen, I see you're on. We got a late email this afternoon. Did you get it?
Yes, I did see that right before I left.
Can you speak to that, please?
Yeah, she wanted to know.
About the position?
Yeah, we did it so fast or something, but we actually didn't because I interviewed 3 or 4 people for that position. I thought April was the best fit for our office, and she had really good customer service skills. And all the other skills that we need, like working on Excel and Office and all that. So I think she'd be a good fit for our office. That's why I chose her. All the applicants were really good applicants, but it was hard to pick, but I tried to choose the right one. So.
She also asked about the assessment clerk. So that no longer is in effect.
No, nope, that's not. The civil service list, I think, has been out for 3 or 4 years. And that's a popular position, so I'm hoping they'll run another test so we can have the new applicant, the new hire, take the civil service, as soon as a new test comes out, if she'd like. But we didn't really have a good list to go by for the civil service for the assessment clerk. So we decided to do informational aid.
Thank you.
Karen's doing a great job, I believe, in that department, recruiting outstanding people. We're having a bit of a challenge in that she's doing such a great job getting them trained that they're being picked up by the other municipalities. So
That's my last clerk to.
that's been a deal. Now, at the other hand, just to let you know, everybody in town hall has been very flexible with this COVID situation we're dealing with. Everybody's been, team players to make things happen. Gabrielle from my office went over to pinch hit this afternoon because Karen was short-staffed. So she's doing a great job with a difficult situation, but we're getting through it.
Going on a month, so hopefully we can get someone hired. We want to get someone in there as quick as we could because my real busy time's coming up and we have to train somebody. So.
Clerk will call the roll.
Counselor Boyke,
Yes.
Counselor Carp,
Yes.
Counselor White,
Yes.
Counselor Bacallo,
Aye.
Supervisor Meyer.
Yes, item is adopted. Thank you. Okay, that's the regular agenda. I do not have any items. There was one other item that came in an email that Judy brought to our attention on that information aid. So that concludes those items. I do not have any further items. Do any of the board members have any items for the discussion portion?
Nope.
Hearing none?
Bill,
We'll see you on-
I have a couple things, Bill.
Okay, Chris?
First of all, I'd like to apologize for my appearance. I still got about 4 hours of work to do when I get home. It's maple syrup season, so we're boiling syrup every night till almost midnight. Second of all, we had a pretty big rescue out back of the highway garage today. A logger working off of Ferguson Road was crushed by a tree that came down on top of him, broke his back. We had 4 fire departments here, South Bay, Cicero, Brewerton, and Bridgeport, along with our police department. And it took us about 2.5, almost 3 hours to get him out and airlifted with Mercy Flight. Just to say a big thank you to those departments and to the chief for all his help with his night. Thank you.
Chris,
Yes.
I did hear that. Why did they have to bring them out through to the highway garage instead of going to Ferguson Road?
It was a lot closer, and the machine they were using caused very, very deep ruts that was nearly impossible to traverse walking. So we had to supply a small mini excavator to go in and knock a path down to him and help bring him out with that excavator.
I did hear that, where they had to bring them out with a four-wheeler,
Yeah.
second four-wheeler.
Along with our excavator.
Yes, I'm glad that everything is okay, though. They got him out.
Yeah, they got him out. He was in pretty tough shape, so I don't know how he is.
Any update on him?
No update yet.
I actually have my afternoon cars checking, so I'll drop an email if I hear anything.
Thank you, Chief.
Okay, hearing no other items, I'll move to adjourn.
Second.
Call a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. Thank you very much. See you on the